Okay, so if you want, you can share a little bit about your present life here in Sheriff Brook.
I remember after my internship, after being here for a couple months, I was going to share with the community how I felt now and what my thoughts were about staying or leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like feeling really strongly that even if it wouldn't have been for Josh, that I wanted to stay because I had really I felt even stronger now that you can't be a Christian alone. Like you really need each other, and I still feel like that. I think
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's hard to say now, I guess, but I think I'd always wanna share life together and have community.
And that was one of the things that made you decide to stay for a bit longer as a member of the community, to extend that and to come into covenant with the community, and enter into the common purse and all of these things. And
I didn't enter into the common purse that first year because I was only planning to stay for a year at that time.
Okay.
So but
could you say a little bit about what the common purse looks like from for an outsider who's just kind of looking at it?
So we've agreed together that to make it work to live here, we need to be present in the neighborhood and to each other. So we couldn't have full-time jobs, but we would also not be able to not work at all because we don't want to take away from the resources that are donated to the hospitality work for our own private things that we need. So to make it work, we decided to not have an outside work that's more than 20 hours a week. And I think most people have like 10, 15. And like I work at a restaurant. It's only 3 hours a week now because they cut down for the winter. I'm trying to find something more, but like if I was living alone, I would probably be feeling really stressed about like trying to find something more, and it's not a high-paying job, but somebody else might like Alice is a nurse, and she works nights, and I was kind of struggling with that just a couple weeks ago, and I realized like I'm making about $200 a month, and she's making a lot more, but we're sharing it, so we're both getting $100 a month, and the rest of it is like ours together if some need comes up. And I was kind of feeling bad about it, like feeling like I'm not doing my fair share. And then Allison was she was saying that that's what community's about, like if we're sharing each other's burdens. And so, and so, 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 if somebody would lose their job too, it wouldn't be too.
It wouldn't be devastating.
Devastating because we got each other, and I think that was really something that was fascinating me in the beginning. Like really, do people do that? Do people really do that? Can it work? And it works. But yeah, if some need comes up that we can't, or that is more like a common person need, like if somebody gets sick or something like that, we talk about it together and try to figure out a good solution.
In a typical week, you have a number of different activities. The community meals on Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, you're all right.
I like to get on the camera.
We'll edit that. There's a lot of activities that go on every week. What do you look forward to most, and why? And maybe if you could share a story or an experience. Maybe it's more of a general feeling that you get from that particular activity. Try to isolate one place where the life of this community, its mission, its worship, really comes into focus for you.
Yeah. And do you want it to be something that happens like every week, or just something that can...
You get to choose.
Okay. Something came to my mind that happened last spring. Like, I think the fact that we are here a lot and present to the neighborhood and get to know our neighbors is really, I really like that. And so last year, I was home one afternoon doing laundry or something, and a neighbor boy comes up to the gate, and he asked, and we've had a long relationship with this family, like since the house started. They've been living close, and they got 6 kids, and he was kind of feeling stressed, and he said, "Can you come over and look after the kids for a while?" And so I wasn't really doing anything else, so I went over there, and the mom was almost in labor, like she had to go into the hospital really, like earlier than she anticipated, and so the husband needed to go with her, and so I got to babysit the kids, and it was really crazy because two hours later or something, the dad comes. No, a friend of the dad comes, knocks on the door, and they were in a car wreck. Like a drunk driver had hit the van.
On the way to the hospital?
Yeah, and the dad was saying like, "Oh, I'm so glad that we didn't have to bring all the kids in the car, because that would, like, we wouldn't have known, we don't know how, like, if they would all have been okay." But everything was fine except the car was right. Nothing happened to them or anything. But I was really thankful that that they knocked on the gate, and
that took a long time building that relationship. That wouldn't just happen out of the blue.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would just sound like, well, is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah, that they, I really like that you can
it was kind of like
trust your neighbors, and that you can that you can feel like you can ask them for things
in an emergency.
Yeah,
in a time of need.
Like build friendships with the people around you. I think it's really important. But I know a time that I always appreciate in the week is Monday night meal. When it's like, sometimes the week can be a little crazy with lots of people, but that's kind of a time where it's more intimate, and where we try to nurture the little community. Because I think, like, without that, it'd be really hard to be doing the work, or
because like the Thursday night community meal is open, right? And that's very big, and not as much centering,
right?
I mean, it's more ex-centering. Can you do that? No.
I love it, but some Thursdays you might not be up for hosting 50 people, but and you just feel like a little overwhelmed by the crowds. But some Thursdays it's a feast.
It is, but you also have you know, I mean, on Thursday, the Thursday I was here was really beautiful, but it was also, it was very, I mean, you had Jason, who came in quite, I think he was fairly well intoxicated. I don't know if you noticed him. And then you have some kind of exaggerated behavior in the community, and that's stressful, isn't it? I mean, as for the resident community, but also for other folks in that space. You almost have to have that centering time in order to kind of be open and have enough flexibility, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't think it'd be possible to have a Thursday night meal every night.
No.
That would make it really hard. But I love the fact that, like, Thursday night meal is kind of like we look at it as an extension of the Lord's Supper, like sharing bread together and sitting down with each other, and not letting the social or economic differences come in the way of our sister and brotherhood.
Would you be comfortable talking a little bit about what happened on Wednesday afternoon? I guess it's the street walk that you all do on occasion.
We used to do it every week, but now it's been a while, and it was really good to be out there again and bump into people that we know from here, and like visit them in their own setting. And so it started out really good, and then as we were standing on the sidewalk talking to some friends, two guys were standing across the street, two young guys, and they were kind of looking at us. And then our friends left, and the one guy, the red hoodie, came over. He ran across the street, a really busy street, and he comes up to us and he introduces himself. I think his name was Brandon or something. And he takes all of our hands and I feel a little uneasy about it. Just by the way that he approached us, I don't know. Because we didn't know him, and usually people don't just come up to you unless they want something, and so he looked at all of you guys and he asked, "Does she belong to you?" That was the weirdest question. I mean, I've never experienced that before. I don't think I've ever felt so objectified. And we all just answered no. She's our own, and I think he was a little confused, and he was obviously under the influence of something, and so he tried to shake my hand again, but I didn't give it to him because I felt like one time was enough. And then he asked, "Well, can I talk to you do you have a minute?" And I just, at this point, I felt really uncomfortable. I was not gonna step to the side with him alone, so I just told him that he could talk to us all together. And then Eric started asking him questions like who he was and how old he was, and he started telling us about how he probably needed rehab, but he was also pretty confused, so it was hard to really understand what he was talking about. But we look across the street and his friend is still standing there waiting for him, and then this guy walks out of a building and he kind of what do you call it, swing his arm at him, and so obviously he made him really irritated or something. So we all decided to go across the street and tried to see what's going on, and we stand there, and Eric recognizes this guy from when he had jail time for civil disobedience and nuclear weapons resistance. So yeah, he recognized this young guy, and they started talking a little bit, and after a while he looked at me up and down, and he had this grin kind of, and he jumped up toward me, and I got really caught off guard, and he said something like, do you remember what he said? Like, I want you, or something like that.
He didn't even say you. I think he was talking to Eric. Yeah.
I want her. And at that point I didn't know what to do. I just ran and hid behind you. And I was glad not to be alone.
Well, go ahead and finish.
And it was a bit scary, but I felt like because we were there together, and because you all were. We were in it together. It was so cute.
Have you thought about it since in terms of what Cherith Brook is about, in terms of its broader witness and its life? Or have you kind of just wanted to put that experience behind you, which would be an understandable response?
I was thinking about it this morning a little bit. Like, I was thinking about my reaction, like why did I just jump behind you? Couldn't I defend myself? And then I was thinking, no, I think it's okay that in times when we can't defend ourselves, that we can take care of each other.
When we were out on that walk, but also in the meal times here, I've noticed a lot of women come in with bruises and black eyes, and I mean, you must see that even more clearly than I do. How do you understand yourself as a woman in this place for other women?
I've found that often women that have been victim to a lot of abuse, they might have a hard time trusting men because they've only had bad experiences with men. So as a woman, they might be more open to sharing their story, or to
Does that happen sometimes?
Yeah. And it's hard because it's hard to break the cycle of violence, because like as a woman on the street, even if you are in an abusive relationship and you want to get out of it, you're kind of depending on the man you're with, and depending on how bad the violence is, if it's really bad, you might want to get out of it, but like even fearful to what he would do if you tried to escape.